Okay, get ready for this one, because today we're diving into something that'll really change how you see the universe. Just imagine, what if everything, literally everything we know, is just one giant neural network?
Whoa,
Yeah.
pretty wild concept, right?
Yeah, and it's not just, science fiction
Yeah,
either.
right.
We're looking at some real science today
Right.
from an article on scinature.com.
Yeah, it's about this physicist,
Yeah.
Vitaly Vanchurin,
Right.
and he's tackling these huge physics questions using this network theory.
Yeah, universe and neural network in the same sentence is not something you see every day.
Yeah.
So let's break it down a little. You know how physicists are always trying to get quantum mechanics and general relativity to, work together?
It's the classic problem.
It's like those two rule books for how the universe works, just, refuse to agree.
Absolutely. You've got quantum mechanics for the tiny world, all the atoms and particles.
Right.
Works perfectly there. And then you have general relativity, explaining gravity and the big stuff, like the structure of the universe.
Yeah, the big picture stuff.
But the problem is they work on totally different principles.
Yeah, it's like trying to use the instructions for building a Lego set to, I don't know, bake a cake.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
They just don't translate. So where does this neural network thing come in? Like, how does that fit into all this?
Well, that's Vanchurin's big idea.
Okay.
So think about like the human brain,
Okay.
this super complex network of neurons, all connected, processing information and learning,
Right, adapting and all that.
Exactly. Or even think about AI systems we're building now, those complex webs of interconnected nodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Vanchurin's suggesting that the universe, at its most basic level, might be structured kind of similarly.
So instead of thinking about the universe being made up of, tiny particles, it's more like this huge network of points all sharing information, like some cosmic internet kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good way to picture it.
Okay, okay.
And here's the really cool part. Depending on what scale you're looking at in this network, it can act like either quantum mechanics or general relativity.
Intriguing, but I gotta say, I need a little more convincing. How do we go from, neural network to explaining the actual laws of physics we see in the universe?
Well, he comes at it from a couple of different directions.
Okay.
One way is to start with a simple network and then just scale it up massively.
Okay, just make it bigger and bigger.
Exactly. And as the network grows and the connections multiply, it starts behaving in ways we can describe using the same equations from quantum mechanics and general relativity.
Really?
Yeah. And depending on whether you're looking at the small scale or the large scale, you see different behaviors emerge.
So it's like the network itself is creating these laws of physics just by growing.
It's a wild idea.
It is wild.
But hold on, we're not saying he's proven the universe ISM neural network for sure. Okay.
Yeah, right.
It's more like he's shining a light on a new path,
Yeah, like, hey, this is interesting. Let's look at this.
Exactly. The fact that a neural network can act like our best physics theories is a pretty big clue.
It's definitely a clue.
It is.
But Vanchurin doesn't stop there, does he?
No, he doesn't.
There's more to this whole thing.
Absolutely. He also approaches this whole thing from the problems we have in physics.
Okay.
Like that quantum gravity thing we were talking about, where the two big theories just don't mix.
Yeah, right.
And he also looks at the observer problem.
Okay, full disclosure, the observer problem is a bit fuzzy for me. Can you, break that down a bit?
Sure. Imagine you have this tiny particle, and you want to know where it is, right?
Okay, yeah.
Well, in the quantum world, just by looking at the particle, you change where it ends up.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's like the universe changes based on us just observing it.
Whoa, that's mind-bending.
It is mind-bending.
So is Vanchurin saying maybe we're coming at this whole physics thing from the wrong angle?
Yeah, that's kind of his point with this second approach.
Okay.
Maybe we're overcomplicating things.
Yeah.
Trying to force these two theories together when, what if the neural network came first? Like, what if those separate laws of physics we see are just coming from this underlying network?
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Right.
So if the universe is like this giant learning machine, how do we even prove or disprove that? Seems kind of impossible, right? Eh?
Well, Vanchurin says to disprove it, you'd have to find something that neural networks can't explain at all.
That's a tough one. I mean, we're still figuring out how neural networks work in our own tech, let alone in the entire universe.
Exactly. And our understanding of the universe is always changing too.
Yeah, true.
So finding that one thing that breaks the neural network idea, that's going to be a hard one to find.
It's definitely a challenge, but even if we can't totally prove or disprove this whole thing right now, the implications are Mind-blowing.
Right.
So what if the universe acts like a giant neural network? What does that even mean for us?
Okay, so think about it.
Okay.
This theory could give us a single framework to understand everything.
Everything.
Yeah, from the smallest particles to those huge galaxy clusters.
Wow.
It's like finding a universal language, connecting things we thought were completely separate.
So instead of all these different theories that sometimes clash, we could have one main principle that explains it all.
That's the idea.
That's huge.
You could change everything. Imagine what this could mean for physics research if we start seeing the universe through this new lens.
Right. Instead of just searching for new particles, we
That's
could be asking totally new questions.
about the role of information computation in the universe.
Yeah, like getting a whole new set of tools.
Yeah, totally.
But it goes beyond just physics, right? You mentioned AI earlier. How does this theory connect to that whole world?
Well, if the universe itself is like a learning machine, it could completely change how we develop AI.
Oh, interesting.
We might start seeing parallels between how the universe processes information and how our AI systems learn.
So we could learn from the universe's own programming.
Yeah, to build even better AI.
Oh, that's a trippy thought.
It is.
But this is going way beyond science and tech now, isn't it? There are some pretty big philosophical questions here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If we're all part of this universal network,
Right.
it makes you think about consciousness, free will, even what reality is.
Right, like are we just patterns in this cosmic network?
Exactly. Do we really have any choices, or is everything already set by the structure of this network?
Those are some heavy questions.
They are.
It's like this theory pushes us to the edge of what we know.
It does.
It makes us confront these huge mysteries.
And that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just about equations, it's about understanding ourselves and our place in the universe.
What strikes me is how this makes you see the world differently, even if we can't prove it yet. Just the idea that everything could be part of this giant network is enough to make you stop and think.
It really is. It's a reminder that we're still surrounded by mysteries, even in the 21st century.
Yeah.
And maybe the key to solving them is understanding information itself.
So if our listeners are out there thinking about all this,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing to remember about Vanchurin's theory?
I think the key takeaway is that this idea of a universe that's a giant neural network,
Yeah.
as crazy as it sounds,
Yeah.
it's not as far-fetched as you might think. It's a serious idea from a respected physicist, and it could completely change how we understand everything.
It's definitely worth paying attention to, even if it ends up being just one step toward an even bigger discovery.
Exactly. Exploring these unconventional ideas, even if they're wrong in the end, can lead to breakthroughs
You're right. It forces us to question everything.
and see things in new ways.
I don't know about you, but I'm definitely going to be looking at the stars a little differently now.
Haha, me too.
Maybe those stars are just nodes in this huge cosmic network, sharing information across unimaginable distances.
And maybe we're part of that network too.
Yeah.
Contributing to it in ways we don't even understand.
Yeah, it definitely makes you feel pretty small.
It does.
And speaking of, thoughts, I'm sure our listeners have some of their own right now.
Oh, yeah.
This is a lot to take in.
It really is. But that's what's so cool about these kind of ideas.
Yeah.
It makes us think beyond what we know. Consider possibilities that might seem strange.
It's all about pushing those boundaries.
Exactly.
So if you had to leave our listeners with just one thought, one thing to really think about after all this, what would it be?
If the universe really is this network like we've been talking about,
Yeah.
what does that mean for us? Like, what does it mean for how we understand consciousness?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Does it change how we think about free will? Does it change how we define reality itself?
Whoa.
These are tough questions, no easy answers,
Yeah.
but they're the kind of questions that can lead us to some really deep insights about ourselves and the universe.
It's like this theory opens up a whole new way of seeing things.
It does.
It's exciting, but also kind of scary,
I get it. It's the unknown.
Yeah.
That vastness. That's what makes it so interesting.
Well, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about today.
Definitely.
Maybe even enough to start some late night debates about, the nature of reality and all that.
I hope so. It's these conversations, this curiosity that push our understanding forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And to all our listeners, if this deep dive has sparked something for you, keep exploring it. Dig into Vanchurin's work. Check out that article. Keep those wheels turning.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to figure out the next piece of this cosmic puzzle.
And that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the mind-bending possibility of a universe that thinks. Until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and keep exploring the infinite wonders of this incredible universe we call home.